Good morning. Buongiorno. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation to speak in front of you. The title of my talk is MOOCs, the Kindling of Learning about Education. Now we are all using technology in our classes. We use this wonderful technology called PowerPoint, where you can put lots of text inside so that you press a lot of text so that nobody can read it. Also, we're using wonderful learning management tools like Moodle, like many others. So we're using technology. But suddenly, a few years ago, on the horizon, we saw something coming up. It's the MOOCs, the massive open online courses. And there were predictions, like with platforms like Udacity, Coursera, edX. And there were predictions like, in 15, 20 years, the university will just be disappearing. There will be a few global players that will control the whole higher education. It's going to be a tough decade. University will face the biggest challenge in 800 years. The major competitor will be Google if we are still alive. Well, these were the predictions, and you could see some of these headlines in journals, no? Reinventing college, the MOOCs are the future of education, the MOOC disrupt everything, the MOOC hysteria, the real education, it's the future. So this really has not happened. Universities are still there. We are having a major impact on higher education. So what have the MOOCs really achieved? To me, and I'm going back to the citation of Aristophanes, some say it was Socrates, some say it was Aristophanes, it really doesn't matter, that education is the kindling of a flame, not the filling of a vessel. It's not content that you have to push into students, but just to spark the interest in something. And in the same way, I'm going now to move this to a meta level. We could say that MOOCs have ignited the interest about how to teach in the future, how to design the future of education. Now suddenly, university presidents, politicians are talking about e-learning in the broadest sense. It was there, but suddenly it has come to the normal newspapers. And this is the most important thing, that they have sparked this interest about the learning of education. So it's meta level. So nowadays, MOOCs have many different phases. One would be their complementary phases. For instance, the opening education to the world. This is what, for instance, European Union, the European Commission has taken as the main driver, how to open up education to the world. This is one aspect. Another one is to use this as a marketing tool. Suddenly, you can be, I will present it later on, I have done a MOOC myself, and there were people from 207 countries. Okay, well, suddenly we have broadened the reach, and more universities know us. So it's a marketing tool. Also, for removing barriers, for instance, for corporate training, so to work together more with companies. So there are many different aspects which you can consider MOOCs have achieved. But to me, one of the most important ones, and the one I'm going to talk about, is the following. You can do with technology basically two things. One is to increase the quantity of your learners. These are basically the MOOCs along this line. But you can use also technology to move along the quality line, not the quantity, to improve your maybe on-campus teaching, your residential education. And these are what Armando Fox has coined from University of Berkeley, the SPOC, the small private online courses, using the same MOOC technology, but for your on-campus teaching. And this is much more profound, much more deep, and much more interesting to look at, and this is what I'm going to talk about, how to use MOOC technology, but on your university, with your residential students. And I will give 3 examples from my university, Universidad Carlos III. I think in Italy you call him Carlo di Borbone. He was in Naples and Sicily, etc. He, by the way, is his 300th birthday this year. He was born in 1716. Well, this is the name of my university. We are not that old. We are quite young university, but I will give 3 examples of initiatives that we have carried out at my university. One is about remedial STEM courses, then a second course on elasticity and strength of materials, and then on a MOOC and its use on campus on programming with Java. The first one, well, students come to university theoretically with the necessary requirements to fully understand the teaching. Well, this is in theory, because we know that in practice there are gaps. Maybe they don't know the physics, the chemistry, the math, as well as they should be to fully understand the teaching. No? So this is why in Spain we have many face-to-face courses which are called zero courses, because they start just before the first semester. The challenge is how to review so much content, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, in such a short time, because normally the semester starts in September. It used to start the 20-something of September. Now it starts quite earlier, maybe the 10th of September. And before, we don't have much time to review the whole material. So what we did, and we did this now 4 years ago, actually. So this is the fall semester, Physics 1, the spring semester, or the winter and summer, or first and second semester. So before we had these face-to-face short courses to review, to refresh material. But it was not enough time. So what we did is to have an online period in August. So what we did then is take the Khan Academy platform, you know the Khan Academy website, but we took the platform, the software, which was open source until September 2012. And we had our professors at the university, the physics professors, do the videos and the exercises in Spanish for reviewing on this platform. We joined it with the Moodle, which is the internal learning management system, and we had our students during the summer at the mountain, at the sea, in the holidays, look at this video and do these exercises. Together with some accompanying things, we had badges. These are badges which we tailored to our Carlos III king. These were of monuments of Carlos III time. And also a social tool, social component. And in this way, the students looked at this video, did these exercises during August, sometimes devoting a lot of time, sometimes in the evening, in the morning, at night. We all could monitor this. And we had some analytics tool, which were provided by the Khan Academy platform, where we could see how the students were advancing. And with this information, then, early September, we had the face-to-face part. So in summary, we had theoretical Khan-style videos and practical video lectures. For physics, you can do also with the zenital camera, show some experiments. But with the students' control, we had exercises parameterized, so every time you call it, you get the different values. And with hints, if you don't know how to continue, you could ask for a hint, another hint, etc. The immediate feedback, which is important. We had the gamification elements, immediate rewards. We had the social component. The student was asking how to do this, and another would write it down, make a picture, and upload it. And we had this analytics where we controlled really the situation. And afterwards, we had still the face-to-face part. So, Khan Academy provided a number of learning analytics tools which we could see what was happening. We could see, for instance, that in one of the exercises there was a mistake. We had to calculate the angle between two vectors, and since it was parameterized, it would be also possible that one vector is 0, so the angle is not well defined. Well, it's well defined, but it was not well done. So we saw that a lot of students were struggling with this, and then we corrected it. On top of it, we have developed additional analytics where we could see high-level information about what was the efficiency of students advancing. So, but this is all well and good. Was there an effect in the learning of the students? So we divided the students in 4 categories: the very good, the medium, and the bad. All, of course, had passed the requirements to enter university. And we saw the effect on the Physics 1, on the spring semester, whether the marks, the grades were better. And we saw that the very good and the good, there was no improvement. Oh, what a pity. This is a failure. Well, they were good enough already, so this was not necessary for them. What we saw, above all, is that the medium students, there was a big improvement. It's those who profited most, because this was exactly what they needed to be better even at the good ones. The bad, they still have to work on it in order to engage them more. We also got an award by Reimagine Education last November about this. So this is the first experience. We have been using it for 3 years, 12, 13, and 14, on the academic platform. As I said, it's not open source anymore, so we decided to move all the content now to a different platform, which is an Open edX platform. Open edX is the edX software that is provided also open source, but we continue this along these lines now in all the summers. So this is the first experience, which is for refreshing initial content. The second example is one of industrial, of mechanical engineering, structural mechanics. This is a very hard subject. At another university in Madrid, there was recently in the news that only 0.8% had passed the exam at this other university. So it's a very hard, with a lot of mathematics, with a lot of concepts there. So we had this professor, Carlos Antiuste. He had done a MOOC on edX. We are a partner of edX. We are the first university in Spain to become partner of edX. So he had this course there. This is one of the experiments he showed. And he used this same, now this in spring this year, these same videos and exercises to change the pedagogy of the on-campus classes. So he did not lecture anymore in class. He did not use the valuable time of contact hours to teach the concepts. No, he did not do that. He used the videos so that he flipped the classroom. No? He used the videos in order for the students to look at this lecturing material at home. And he used the precious time in class to do exercises, to do projects, to have the students present their projects. Now you have much more time, so you can mentor much better all the students you have in class. So the result was extremely amazing. So this is the pass rates of all other courses, or a selection of courses in this career. And on the left-hand side, you see in blue what is the average rate of passing students. After doing this experiment, this raised a lot. Suddenly, there were a lot of very goods, a lot of goods. Suddenly, the students, without changing the difficulty of the exam, the students learned much more. There were complaints by the students. Don't monitor me so much. I will study at the end, don't worry. Don't mess with my studying. So the students were against it. But in the end, the results were much better. And now the third, which is more or less now future plans, but is more in first person, because I was the coordinator and main teacher of this course, Introduction to Programming with Java. It's 3 courses, 3 5-week courses. The third one is still to be developed and taught next year. But to give you some of the details of this course, which is on edX. We ran it first time in 2015 with 93,000 students or learners from 200 countries. Then a second run in November with 207 countries. This is a tremendous difference of what we are used to, no? And also a tremendous responsibility, because I've been teaching Java for many years. I've never thought so hard on how to explain things, how to make it really understandable for all kinds of different students. Because you have those students who don't know anything at all, and you have also they've written to me, professionals programming professionals who know all the details. So you have the tremendous responsibility of explaining things where you have to abstract, you have to simplify, and therefore to lie a little bit, but not to lie too much though, in order to make it incorrect. So you have to really value very much in how to explain concepts. So, well, these are the details. I won't go into the details. But we made an effort also in having a lot of interactivity, interaction on the platform, on your browser. For instance, we developed JavaScript applications in order to have the students understand well and experiment and play. We embedded external tools. One is Blockly, which is from Google, that allows you to program with blocks without having to take care of the syntax of the language. We embedded another tool called Codeboard from the ETH Zurich, where you can program in Java, compile and execute it without having to install anything because it runs on your browser. So for learners that for the first time get the connection with programming is quite good. And then a third one, which is called Greenfoot, in order to develop games on Java. So there were a lot of tools, some developed by us, some developed by others, but integrated into the platform that allowed the students to play, to get the feeling without having too many videos. Well, we had a lot of videos. We had 70 videos for this 5-week course. We developed also a way of having an efficient production line so that if there are errors that could be corrected very well. So I started at the beginning explaining something, then my face was not seen. It's not necessary this all the time. And at the end, I normally made the joke. I started without having really thought of it, but then I thought, okay, making this joke is good because then the students will see at the very end. So I made a lot of jokes. Sometimes difficult to find out for every concept a joke, but it was good effort. Here I'm with Carlos III again. Okay, so, but above all, we could see also with the powerful analytics that edX supplies, where were the problems, where we had something maybe to correct. This is a video, a 3 minutes, 49 seconds video. You can see in light blue how many, at some point, how many viewers there were. There were 7,500 viewers. And in dark blue, you see how many replays. So the students could go back and see something. And we see that at second 50, there were half of the students who reviewed this part. So this is very valuable information, because now you can go to the part where you're explaining this, and maybe you see, okay, maybe the example was not good enough, I didn't explain it well, maybe it makes me think about how I explain something, maybe it was too formal and not so much intuitive, but it puts the point, of course, now you don't know what is the reason, but it spots this particular point, unless you think maybe I have to explain something differently, which in class you don't have. No? You have here now the power of the masses that tell you something is going on there. And this is very valuable information to really correct your explanation. So, and having now covered the first part, how to teach, now you can use this very valuable and very tested material, because if there's a little error, immediately you will get some email, okay, there's an error here. You have to correct it very fast, and that's it. No? Or you didn't explain this very well. Now you can go to class and do as Professor Sanchusta did it. No? Flip the classroom. Don't use time for lecturing. Use it for mentoring. You can use tools, many like Kahoot, for instance, in class. You can use, even with OpenEdX, a peer instruction methodology. You can do many things. In order for the students to really come to class with the videos seen beforehand, which is a critical point, because if I have not done it, then the whole thing does not work. We have developed an app, which we called Flip App. We developed it at the university internally, which is a gamification and notification tool. So remember, all the friends in your group have seen the video. You didn't do it. Please go ahead. And if you do it, you give you some points. And then you can rank better. Well, these classical techniques of gamification and notification. You don't rely on the students doing it. You help him doing it in order for the rest of the experience to work well. And you can give in class chocolate also to the world. So you can make a number of classical things in order to use this time. So in essence, the MOOCs have sparked this learning conversation, and it has basically, it's the energy for three things. On the one hand, it helps the university as a marketing tool to become well known around the world much more. It gives, through the MOOCs, the recognition of professors. Professors were becoming famous because of their research. Now they become famous because of their teaching. And also, it can change the pedagogy on campus in SPOCs. It can make use of these resources to change the pedagogy. So let me start, not really that, but come closer to the end. So for centuries, the focus was on the lecturing. Now we have the tools and the technology and the possibilities to do the focus on the mentoring. You can subcontract the lecturing to yourself in the videos and use the time in a better way to really be closer to the students. Second, I would say that digital education is not distance education. Of course, it is also, but it is also a tool to improve in traditional universities, not online universities, the teaching. And sometimes when we confuse things, we know what we are. Should the traditional universities do online education, distance education? Of course, they can do, but the core business is the traditional students, and sometimes these concepts are complicated. Then we have to move forward with a backward compatibility. You remember these credit cards at the beginning, they were purely mechanical, the crack, crack. No? Then there was a magnetic strip. Now they have a chip, but it's all the same. You give a card and you don't care about the technology behind it. Now we have to find also ways to advance in our structure, in the organization of the courses and structure of the university, to change the methodology which is compatible with the organization of classes, with classrooms, etc. So this is the subtle thing, to move forward, change things without changing the surroundings. So, and what I'm advocating is MOOC technology can be used so much, so well in class, so why is nobody doing it? Or not so many universities are really changing their strategy to do this? Well, university managers maybe say, well, I don't know which models to follow, there's uncertainty. This would need many more resources, and probably it won't change the rankings, which recently, yesterday, I think the QS rankings came out, which is the most important thing, because rankings depend on research, not so much on teaching, so maybe it's not so much interest. Then the faculty is not interested either, because it's out of the comfort zone. It's easier to take the slides from last year and explain the same and just keep talking and not worry so much about mentoring. It means a higher effort, because if professors have to make these videos, they don't have the skills to really do them, and it's a lot of effort. How to teach in this way, and in any case, research has the top priority. And students, okay, they don't want to have experiments made in them, no? And tell me what is relevant to the exam, and I'll study the last week, and that's enough, and the rest of the semester I'm exaggerating, of course. But none of the stakeholders is really interesting in changing, because it's a lot of effort, there's a lot of obstacles. No? So then, what to do? Well, one thing is to experiment a lot, because there's no one way. There are many ways, so you have to find your own way and experiment a lot. You have the reward of those brave ones that invest the effort in changing the pedagogies, convince with evidence, and also train the trainers, because the professors are not used to being actors. And now you have to make them actors for making these videos. You have to change pedagogy. So this is, for instance, we're doing this. These are some actors. I don't know whether you know him on the left. Well, he's a very famous actor in Spain. And he's teaching professors on how to behave in front of the camera in order to do these videos. Well, is this the end? Well, there are many more things ahead, which I will go very fast because we are running out of time. No? There are many things on the horizon that will make the university teaching change a lot. Well, I don't know whether I'm going to do the blockchain as a tool. I invite you to look at it. Or maybe in the questions I can go into more detail. The certification of things, blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin, and it's a distributed technology that allows not to have a central point where things are certified, but a distributed one. So this can also change the power in certifying. And if you want to know, there's in Italy, for instance, this blockchain education network where you can have a look on what are the possibilities. It's a very important thing that is going to change how the certification will work in education and many other things. Then all the things with machine learning and AI and cognitive computing will also change a lot. I don't know whether you know that at Georgia Tech they had a MOOC, had a master's course on computer science, which was run as a MOOC, which the price were much lower than the face-to-face one, and they had a number of assistants. One of these assistants was Jill Watson. She replied to questions of students, etc. At the end, the students wanted to give Jill Watson the prize for being the best TA, the best teaching assistant. What the students didn't know is that Jill Watson was a machine. She was powered by IBM Watson, and there was no person behind it. So imagine what this can have as an impact for teaching or in being in a world where machine learning can take some of these roles. This is in Jeopardy. This is a game where Watson won to some questions better than person. The Internet of Things, augmented and virtual reality is also coming up. So there are a number of technologies that I think will disrupt education in a particular way, and you cannot stop at the traditional way of the last 800 years. You have to move forward, because otherwise what will happen is what these taxi drivers in London is happening to them. They were striking because of Uber taking over. Taxi industry is a regulated industry. They have to pay expensive licenses to be there. Sure. And they are protesting that somebody from outside is taking their business. And the funny thing or the sad thing is that they're using technology just to inform themselves. They're looking at the smartphones. They're using themselves this technology who is killing them because they are not reacting in time. So let's hope that we at the university don't be looking at all this technology going on and don't react ourselves and use it even in not only for online, for distance education, but also in our classes there. Sure. So I don't know whether you dare now to go back to the teaching in the old way. Before I finish, let me just say one word of announcement. The eMOOCs conference, the European MOOCs conference, which was in Lausanne, in Mons, in Graz, will take place, organized by us at my university next year, where we're going to talk a lot more about MOOCs. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Professor. I really appreciate very much your speech, in particular when you stress that digital education is much, much more than distance education. I think that it's a thing that we have to be aware of, and we work on it in order to make everybody understood of these things, because otherwise it will lead to big mistakes. So indeed, digital education is really the future because we can use in a many different aspects of all the field. I suggest to have the second speech before having a possibility of posing question. It's okay? So I call the second. Okay, but I just will present the second moment. Okay, so Professor Eric de Corte, okay, I forgot. That's usual. Professor Eric de Corte, University of Louvain, Belgium. Even for him, I put just some role he had, just in order to let you know that he comes from a different field. And that's what I wanted to stress. So indeed, he was professor of educational psychology to his university. He was director of the Center for Instructional Psychology and Technology, director of Louvain Language Institute, and he got in South Africa 2 honoris causa degree, the one at Rand Afrikaans University in 2000, and the other one at University of Free State, Bloemfontein in 2003. He's member of Academia Europea. He's a foreign member of the National Academy of Education of the United States. He's also foreign member of Royal Norwegian Society of Science and Letters for the class of humanities, because he comes from humanities, and he is a foreign member of Russian Academy of Pedagogical and Social Science. Just to give an idea of his field, not to give a complete information about our speaker. That's the speech is learning design, creating powerful technology-supported learning environment, and I give you the floor.